record button. Okay, so this week's parsha is Parshas Vayishlach, is Yaakov Avinu on his journey back to Eretz Yisrael, and in that journey back to Eretz Yisrael, there is so much for us to learn for our lives. And I'm trying to think which portion I should be focusing on. If we should go a little bit more Kabbalistic or a little bit more al derech hapshat. Each one of them gives us a different explanation. Maybe we'll go a little bit more Kabbalistic today. It's early in the week. We have some more time to digest the thoughts and the concepts. So I want to focus on one thing, and that is on the way back, Yaakov, he starts bringing his family over the river, and then famously he forgets the pachim ketanim, the small jugs. As we're getting closer to Hanukkah, Pach Katan, the Mekubalim and the Hasidic farm connect the two together. He goes back, and over there he has the battle with the Sar of Esav. As it says in the pasuk, Vayivater Yaakov levado, Yaakov was left all alone. Vaye'avek ish imo, and there's a man who wrestled with him. Modern Hebrew took the word from this pasuk. Itavkut means to wrestle. But we have to know what the word Vaye'avek ishimo means. Adalot hashachar, until the dawn, the break of dawn. Vayal kilo yuchalo, and he sees this man that he can't overcome. Yaakov, Vayiga bekaf yerecho, he hits his thigh. Vateka kaf yerech Yaakov be'avko imo. But Yaakov still holds on. Vayomer shalcheni, even though Yaakov is injured, he's holding on. This ish says, "Let me go." Ki Allah shachar, because the time has come. Vayomer lo shalechacha kim berachtani, I'm not going to let you go until you give me a bracha. What's the bracha that he gives him? Vayomer elav ma shimcha, he tells him, what's your name? Vayomer Yaakov, he says Yaakov. Vayomer lo Yaakov yaomer shimcha od shimcha ki im Yisrael ki sarita im Elokim im anashim v'tucha. Your name will not be Yaakov, rather your name will be Yisrael, because you have overcome men and Elohim ve'anashim v'tuchal. Im Elohim ve'im anashim v'tuchal. Meaning spiritually and physically, you've been able to overcome. Therefore, your name is Israel. Now, our name is Israel as a people. We're called Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, the nation of Israel. So we have to understand, what does the name Israel mean? Why does he get it at this exact moment? That's question number one. Question number two is, what does Vaye'avek ishimo? The word Vaye'avek means, if you look at Rashi says Vaye'avek, Menachem piresh va'itafar ish milashon avak shayu malim afar beraglehem. It was avak is what we call now dust. It's not just the regular afar. It's when people wrestle. So then, like the ground, it brings up all this dust that comes up, and it's like, you have two men wrestling in the dirt, in the sand. So it's like these cartoons. I don't know what they call it. Remember those cartoons? The cartoon guy would come in and he would all be turning around. There would be a whole tornado of dust, and then he would do his damage, and you wait till the dust settles. So that's where it comes from. The word Vayavek Ishimo comes from that there is dust that came up. Now there's a significance to this. This is a unique word in the Torah, that there's dust that came up. What is the significance? If you look at the Baal HaTurim says Vayavek Begimatria kisei kavod. The word Vayavik means the heavenly throne. Melamed she'elu avak ad kisei kavod. It teaches us that there was dust that went up until kisei kavod. There's a significance over here in this wrestling. There's a battle over here that there is avak, and we have to define what is this dust that is filling all the way up until Kisei HaKavod. There's something here we find that Rashi is referring to this, that Baal HaTurim referring to this, and he says, Zeu Sar Shel Esav. There must have been a great battle over here. What is this battle? And then finally, why is this the moment that the Sar of Esav wants to go up and leave? So Rashi tells us that he wants to go, V'tzarich ani lomar shira bayom. I need to say shira. Or right now, he needs to say shira. Oh, ki Allah shachar, because it's daytime, and I only say shira during the day and not at night. What is that, the significance of it? Why Why does right now specifically, he didn't need to go up Shira last, because it was nighttime, so at nighttime he's allowed to, there's something very deep over here. So I want to dive with you a little bit deeper to try to understand this basic story, as we try to do in our meetups over here, is not just to read the story as we've been reading it for years. As we know the story, exciting stories when we were in Gan, and when we brought back our Parsha sheets and we say over the story, but there's a lot of layers of depth and significance over here. So again, we're asking, why is it that they're wrestling right now in Belashon Avak, and it was this dust that fills up the entire world? What is the significance of that? Number two, we're asking, why is it that he wants to go up right now, specifically right now, to the Kiseh? He wants to go up to say Shira. Why didn't he want to go up to say Shira before? And number three is, why was the bracha that he was given the name Yisrael more than anything else? This is the name Yisrael. Yisrael is this concept, meaning it means that we beat something. We were able to overcome. So the truth is that there is an ongoing battle between Yaakov and Esav, and we'll elaborate more on that battle and the mahus of that battle. But there's a battle of how we relate to the physicality of the world, how we relate to money, how we relate to wealth. And Yaakov and Esav are actually fighting at this moment, where Yaakov goes back for the little jugs. Yaakov goes back and he appreciates the little things in life. And Esav, until today, Esav gets swayed by the lights, by the glitz and glamour, even though it may not have any intrinsic value. I'll relate with you a story. I did a small video on this on Hanukkah a few years ago, which was a story from my childhood in America. I remember our first Hanukkah when we moved to America. Remember, I'm Israeli born. I grew up here in Eretz Israel, and I've never been to America. I'm 8 years old when we moved to America for the first time. And the Hanukkah I knew. I never knew about the Christian holidays, though. I grew up in in Kerem B'Yamna. I grew up in the Yeshiva Lane. It was an insular world. And I remember we're going for the first time to a Hanukkah Mesiba by one of the suburbs outside of Manhattan, where we live. And we're driving in the car that's taking us there. And I'm this little Israeli kid, and I'm like glued to the window, and I'm looking at the lights. And it's like, wow, you see the trees all covered up, and the houses are covered. And when you get to the suburbs, you have some people that their whole entire house and front lawn is all filled with Christmas lights. Right? And I'm like glued to the windows, and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. So much light, so much this. And we go to this family for our Hanukkah Mesiba. And of course, you start the Hanukkah Mesiba, you light the Hanukkah candles. So we're standing by the window and we're lighting our Hanukkah candles, but it's like I look around to the house next door. It's like, who sees my little Hanukkah candle? This little dinky Hanukkah candle, and all the lights outside, you couldn't see it. It was totally covered over. And, as an Israeli, obviously we lit Hanukkah candle. I'm excited. It's a Hanukkah party, but I was a little bit like, I remember being a little bit embarrassed that our candles sort of don't hold the light to everyone else's candle. And outside it was snowing, and the snowstorm got worse. And then in the suburbs, I guess there was, I don't know if something fell, a tree fell. Suddenly, an entire blackout of the whole neighborhood. Suddenly everything drops, like all of the lights drop of the entire neighborhood. And you can't see anything. But what can we see? Obviously, they ran right away to get flashlights or whatever it is. But the only thing that you could see in the dark is our Hanukkah candles. So I ran to like the window as a little kid. I remember seeing the Hanukkah candles, so exciting. And we're looking at it. And for the first time, I'm like looking out the window, seeing how everything went black. All of the fancy lights, everything went black, the entire block, the whole area. And suddenly I noticed that across the street, there's another Hanukkah candle that I didn't notice before. And there's another Hanukkah candle that I didn't notice over there, up the block, down the block. And because we're in a Jewish neighborhood, I just didn't even notice it because I was too enamored by the lights around. And as I grew up, I realized that this is really the story of Hanukkah. because when we say that it's banu choshech legaresh, that the Greeks were darkness, and that it's coming to eradicate our light, it wasn't that it was darkness that they tried, that they were, bringing in darkness. The Greeks were enlightened. They brought in a whole new light. But it was a lot of glitz and glamour. It was a lot of gladiators, a lot of spotlight all around, and not enough focus on the inner flame. And sometimes when you have a lot of light around, you lose focus on your inner flame. You lose focus on your inner light, the light that matters the most. And that's really what I realized, that there's all this glitz and glamour in the story of Yavan, which eventually turns into Malchus Edom, into the Malchus of what Esav represents. And our little light is eternal. And it doesn't matter what type of storm is outside, what type of blackout there is, our light will always be there, and it's always consistent. And I think this is really the yesod of the machlokes between Yaakov and the Sarah of Esav right over here. Let me elaborate. Because what is avak? The word avak is different than afar and different than efer, right? When you say va'anochi afar va'efer, afar means that it's dirt. Dirt doesn't have a past, but it has a future, meaning you could plant something in the dirt and then something will grow. Efer means ashes. Ashes, they have a past. It used to be a chair, but they don't have a future because it got burnt and now it's ashes. You can't grow anything out of it. Avak, dust, is nothing. It's just a facade. It doesn't have a past and it doesn't have a future, but it could fill up the entirety. It could fog your vision to the point that you can't see what's in front of you and you can't decipher between what's real and what's fake. And that was the malchus that Esav represents. There's a big fog, and it's hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. And that's the world of Esav that we live in today, whether it's the digital world and children, they're literally children who don't know the difference between the reality of their real life and their digital life, to the point that they're paying a lot of money for their digital avatar, meaning their digital persona online, what it should look like. There are kids who pay a lot of money for this in the world at large, because that becomes their reality. That is my persona online, and that guy is really cool, and that's how I interact with my friends through gaming online. Unbelievable type of reality. And that's what it means that it's vayavek ishimo, that there is real dust that is overtaking and overcoming the entire world. And Yaakov is able to overcome. Yaakov is able to show, no, there's significance to everything in life. Even the small jars that I came to get, there's significance. That's why the battle is over there. That's why the name Yaakov is Yud Akev. Akev means the heel, the lowest part of the human body. The lowest place is the heel. But there's Yud, even there's Ruchnis, there's spirituality, even in the lowest part of the human body. And that's what Yaakov is representing. And on that, there's a battle between Yaakov and the Sarah of Esav. And when he's able to overcome him, he gives him the name Israel. Why does he give him the name Israel specifically? Here I want to go a little bit deeper. And this, by the way, what it means by Ye'avik Ishimo, that there was avak that is overtaking the entire world, ad kisei hakavod, meaning what is the significance of olam hazeh? Is it just avak? Is it afar? Is it, right? Is there anything to it? And Yaakov was coming to say, yes, I am involved in the physical world. I am the one, and that's why he sent to Esav all of the gifts from the physical world. Look, I was involved in Lavan's house. I went out. I got that aspect of the Galus, and I'm showing that there is Kedusha to it as well. And the Sarah of Esav is just, there's a big facade where it's not really sure what's real and what's not real, and it takes away the entire meaning of life. Now, he gives him the name of Israel. And we have to know what the name of Yisrael actually means and how the Mekubalim explain what it means. So if you take the name Yisrael, it really splits down into three sections. In the middle, there is the letter Resh. The letter Resh in the world of Kabbalah always represents also what it sounds like. Resh comes from the word Rosh. Rosh means the head, that you're all on top. Or it has the opportunity of meaning Rash. Rash means that someone is very poor. He's a Rash, Ani Varash, someone who's poor. So the middle, there's a potential of being the top. Am Yisrael could either be all the way on top, or Am Yisrael could be all the way on the bottom. Now, on the right hand of the head, you have the Yud Shin of Yisrael, Yesh, and on the left-hand side, you have Aleph Lamed, Kel, Yisrael. Now, what do the Mekubalim say? We have the last Mishnah in Shas. We say that Atida Kodesh Baruch Hu Lasos Machol Tzadikim. Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to do a circle for the Tzadikim. And it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give Shai Olamos, 310 worlds to the Tzadikim. As it says, Lehanchil Ohava Yesh, to give to my beloved Yesh. Yesh means 310. 310 is the number which is standing on the right-hand side of Yisrael. And you have Lamed and Aleph, which is standing on the left side of Yisrael. Now, Lamed and Aleph is 31. Now, 31 is the minimum of really 310. If you take 31 and you multiply it by 10, it would also be 310. So you have 310 on the right-hand side. You have 31 on the left-hand side. And it's really up to us to decide whether we will be Rash or whether we will be the Rosh, the head, the leaders of the world, or whether we might be the Rash, which means the poor people in the world. Now listen to this. The Mekubalim say like this: the number 310 really splits into two sections, 1/3 and 2/3. 1/3 of it is the number 103. The number 103 represents the negative side of the 310 olamos. It's the gematria, actually, of the word avak. Avak, if you take the numerical value of Aleph, Beis, Kuf, it's 310. It's 103, sorry. It's 103. That's the word avak. In fact, the name Egel, like as in Egel Hazav, Ayin Gimel Lamed, is also 103, meaning it represents the negative side of the 310. It's 1/3 of it, which is 103. What is left, which is 2/3 plus 1, it's 207, right? Because if it would be 1/3, 1/3, it would be 103, 103, and 103. Together, it's 309. So together, you need to be a little bit more than 2/3. That's the number 207. The number 207 in Gematria, the way the Mekubalim bring it, it comes from the word or. Or is light. Or is light, and or is also the raz, the secret. This is what the different Sfarim bring down. It's like if we're able to show the light, and which is the eternal light that burns through, that is able to see through the facade of all the fake lights. And it's that inner light of meaning, of purpose, that there is purpose to this world. There is the real world. There is the fake world. We know the difference between the two of them. So then the or, which is 207, is able to overcome the avak and the egel, and is able to turn it all into the kochos of kedusha. And that's why Yaakov sends the mincha, which is again gematria 103. He sends this mincha offering to Esav from the physicality of the world, and he says, look, I have taken this and I have lifted this up, and it is part of the tzad of kedusha. When the majority is able to overcome this darkness of avak, you have together the number 310, lahanchil oava yesh, and when you have lahanchil oava yesh on one side, which is kedusha, and it's able to impact the other side, which is the Lamed Aleph or the Kel, and it lifts it. So together, when you have 310, you have 310. So then 310, 310 together is Gematria Keser, which is 100, 620. 620 is a crown that you put on top of the Rosh, that you put on top of the head, and that is what the name of Yisrael represents according to the Mekubal. Now this comes specifically after he's able to overcome Esav's Sar. And again, I'm going to just touch on one Nekuda. In a certain way, this battle, and again, I said that we're going to go a little bit more Kabbalistic today. This battle represents the overcoming of good over evil. Now, there's different levels of how good can overcome evil. Level number one is that you take the physical world and you turn it into a mitzvah. You take food and you prepare it for Shabbos. You have ox and sheep and you're able to bring it as a carbon. You do peter chamor, and that's what Yaakov says, Vayili shor v'chamor. I have ox and I have chamor. I'm able to do mitzvos with the physicality of the world. Another one is that you use the physicality, and it's sort of like within that, I would say, it's not another one. Within that is you're able to use the physicality to sustain you in order to do mitzvahs, right? If you go ahead and you're eating so that you could, stay awake for this year, or if you go to take a nap or you go to sleep at night so you could have energy to wake up and to daven, so then your sleep is a mitzvah. Your food is a mitzvah. If you're doing it in order to have energy to do Aveir, so then the entire night was not a mitzvah. It depends why you went to sleep and how you went to sleep. If you went to sleep in order to have energy to do good things, it's a mitzvah. So we have the ability to take the physical world and to lift it and to turn it into a mitzvah. But then there's a higher level. There's a higher level, which is where you take the Ra, you can't turn it into good. It's a type of evil that you can never turn it into good. The whole reason why it exists in this world is so that you can overcome it. There is evil in this world that we will never be able to turn into good. But why is it there? So that we have to confront it and be able to overcome it and to not fall by it. And that becomes our mitzvah. That we were able to fight against it. Velo yuchala. But that evil is not able to affect us, and we're able to stay true to our values and to the truth, into the emes, and not to be distracted by the dust that overcomes the world, enamored by the lights that blind us, but rather to be focused on what is the truth. That is a whole other purpose of why we have the Ra in the world. And by the way, this is why this Malach was going up to say Shira right now, because we know every Malach is given one mission at a time. And when it completes its mission, it goes up to Shammai to say Shira. Thank you, Hashem, for sending me on this mission. I completed my mission. The whole mission of this Malach, of why he exists, why he was created, is so that Yaakov should confront him and overpower him and take him down and not be swayed. His mission is to try to sway Yaakov. Yaakov's mission is to overcome him. He won't be able to change Esav, but he'll be able to change himself and solidify in himself the values of what it means to be a Jew and not to be swayed and distracted by the fake life that Esav represents. And the moment Yaakov is able to overpower him, he says, let me go. That was my whole mission. It's time for me to go up and to say Shira. So he says, give me a name, and he gives him the name of Yisrael. If you keep on going this way, you will be the Sar, you will be Kisarita Imanashim, you will be the minister, you will be the king, you will be the prince that is able to overpower evil in this world, and you will get the crown, the 310 of Yisrael, of the Yesh, and you have the Rosh in the middle, the head, Am Yisrael will be on top, and then we're able to overpower the 310 on the left side, and then we're able to crown Hashem in this world. There's even one higher level of Kedusha, which can only be done by a Baal Tshuva, because one is not allowed to do any Averis, but if unfortunately someone did, and someone lived a life where the Ra was inside of him, and he became a part of the Ra because he incorporated that type of lifestyle of evil or of inappropriate unethical types of behaviors into his own lifestyle, and he decides to do tshuva and to cleanse and to live more of an ethical, moral type of life. So that's what it means, tshuva ma'ava, that you're nehepach lezechuyos, that you're able to turn the ra into good. You're able to take all of your life's experiences, even the negative ones, and now with your new understanding of life, to turn your previous experiences into positive experiences. This is a deeper, somewhat of a deeper look at the battle between Yaakov and the Sar of Esav, about the dust that has come up and tries to block and to taint our view of the entire world. And Yaakov's sole mission at this moment is to overcome this evil that he's battling. And it happens right when he goes back to get that little jug, which represents that he holds that there's a value and an importance to every aspect of life. And that's when the Sar of Esav comes to attack him specifically over there. And that's why when he's able to overcome him, and the battle is this battle of a dust covering up the entire world. What is real in life? What is not real in life? It gets tainted. And that's, will it taint Yaakov's vision? Will it taint his perspective on life? Yaakov is able to overcome him. So the Malach finished his journey. He's got to go back up to Shamayim and to say Shira. And he gives him the bracha of Yisrael, which is the essence of what it means to be a Jew, is to constantly understand that we're facing these different battles. Whether it's just a simple battle of how do I use the food and the physicality around me? Am I using it just for my own pleasure? Am I using it to lift it up, to do a mitzvah with it, to have Shabbos food, to give me energies to be a better Oved Hashem? How do I overcome the Ra in this world? And when we do it the right way, we become Yisrael, we become Sar. Like we said, the 310 olamos, Lahanchil Oava Yesh, you get the 310 olamos that the tzaddikim get, which is to the right hand of the name Yisrael. You have the Rosh, the head in the middle with the crown on top, because when you have 310, you have 310. That's the gematria of Keser, which, by the way, is also the gematria of the amount of letters that are in Aseres Adibros. There's 620 letters in the 10 Commandments, like the number 620, which is the number of Keser, of a crown, because it is here to crown us so that we could crown Hashem in his world. Yeshua Koach, everybody. Thank you so much. Pleasure being here with you.